A couple of weeks ago, we heard in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus being tempted by the devil. If you remember, Jesus went into the desert for about 40 days and nights and was hungry. The question was, what was he hungry for? Was he hungry for food, or was he hungry for more than food? There's an old saying, and I'm sure that a lot of you know this: absence makes the heart grow fonder. Well, a study by researchers that was recently released confirmed this. The researchers were from the University of Hong Kong and Cornell University, and they verified that this adage is really true. They studied couples in long-distance relationships and compared them to relationships to people who were geographically close. And the key part of this study was explained this way. In an effort to keep romance alive, couples will engage in more frequent communication and discuss deeper issues such as love, trust, and future plans when they're separated. Much like Jesus, it seems like we've been placed in the desert. It may be 40 days or it might be longer. Regardless of the length, we are temporarily separated from our worship, our community, and most of all, the Eucharist. It's astonishing and fitting that it's happening during Lent, where we as the church put away a lot of our celebratory items and enter in a time of reflection and anticipation. Back before we were married, Susie and I lived in different cities. I lived down in Pittsburgh and she was up here in Buffalo. And I would travel to Buffalo every couple of weeks. Start the weekend off driving up to Buffalo. I'd get here 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And the weekends would last until 7 or 8 on Sunday afternoon. This time became precious. It allowed us to spend time with friends and family. And each time I went home, it felt like I was really someone special. It seemed like there was always people and more people that wanted to see me than there was time in the weekend. To me, this time of separation seems like it's going to be similar to my time in Pittsburgh. The one difference is I'm not the one that's special, but it's the community of believers. It's the sharing of the word, and it's the celebration of the Mass. Well, we can't meet in person. We can still read the scriptures, pray, listen to what God has to say to us. Today's readings are about light in the world and how through this light we can find God in our midst. We are first reminded in the story of Samuel that what we see on the surface isn't always what is in God's heart. In the story of Samuel, Samuel goes and looks for a representative of God, that is the king. And he goes to Jesse, and he looks at Jesse's sons, and he goes through 6 of them before he finds the one that he wants. He was looking at appearance. He thought he had it at the first try. God said no. Samuel said to Jesse, "Jesse, do you have any more sons?" And he says, "Well, I have one more. He's out in the field tending the sheep." That was David. Yes, King David. David was the choice because God knew David's heart, not just what he looked like. Our psalm today is probably familiar to everyone. The key is that even in the dark valley, God is at our side. In Paul's letter to the Ephesians, the original readers were Gentiles without Christ and were considered darkness itself. Christ, however, gave them a new identity as children of light. They were called to live in a different way. In his letter, he compares the light with goodness and asks us to expose the works of darkness of the world. As we get in today's gospel, we see how Christ works as light in people's lives. We see him at the beginning of the story that the man has been blind from birth. He's been abandoned by his parents. He's outside begging. He's really separated from the community. The disciples believe that it was because of sin that he was born blind, but no, Jesus sets them straight. He tells them that the works of God could be visible through him. Jesus knew what was coming. Without request, Jesus attends to the man by putting clay on his eyes. He then tells the man to go wash himself in the pool of Siloam, which means sent, or sent one. This man was sent to be washed by the one who was sent by God. As the story goes on, the authorities question his man and his parents. His parents were afraid of losing their status and identity, all but denied him. But the man himself makes a transition. At first, he indicates the healing came from a man named Jesus. As he's challenged by the townspeople, he grows stronger in his understanding. Near the end of the story, an exchange of dialogue happens between the man and Christ himself, and it shows the man's ignorance of who Jesus is. But with this encounter, it results in his belief. In the story, Jesus asks the man, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The man retorts, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" In this exchange, Jesus reveals, "You have seen him. The one speaking to you is he." At this point, the man comes to full realization that Jesus is the one sent from God, and he worships Jesus right there. The story also has some other twists. That is, those who were supposed to be learned and who should know their faith were blind to the one who was sent to perfect their faith. They did not want to engage him. They only wanted to call him out. All that training, all that background was nothing. They didn't believe in the one who was sent to cure all of our blindness. If we too engage in deeper conversation with God, we're going to see that God is waiting for us to return to him. If we open our hearts, we will see that we are the special ones, that God is looking forward to seeing us on a regular basis. Yes, God is inviting us to spend some time with him, and he's waiting for us to come to him.